Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Align podcast. I hope you all are doing well and your week has started off on a positive note. Now, most of the time when we talk about weight loss, the conversation is majority of the times around calories, diets, and gym routines. But what if I told you that there is a deeper layer to all of this? There is a whole mind body connection at play. And the way we think, feel, and even the energy we carry can shape our wellness journey. And with that, I'm excited to introduce my guest today, Penelope Claire, a weight loss alchemist and energy healer. And I must say, it's so true to say that she's on a mission to empower women to embrace abundance and reconnect with their feminine essence. She leads the Weight Loss Alchemy program, whose approach is rooted in the awareness that our physical lives are external manifestations of our internal energies, and we all can make the conscious choice to transform what is less desirable into which we truly desire. Penelope, finally we are here today, and I'm so thrilled to have you on my show. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Ruhi. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
All right. For us to get started, why don't you tell us a little about your own journey for our listeners, and how did you first get interested in the idea of, metaphysics when it comes to health and weight loss?
So, I started definitely through my own personal healing, based on history of depression, anxiety, I guess feeling disempowered, although I didn't even really know it. And that was definitely triggered by my brother's suicide over 10 years ago, when I realized that I really needed to put my personal healing and my personal development as my number one priority in life. And through that, I really took an alternative path to everything that I'd grown up with or been told or taught was accessible, effective, or usual. And I went down the path of energy healing, shamanic work. I studied, traveled around the world, and from there, I gained a much clearer sense of my empowerment. I gained a much clearer sense of how we manifest in the physical, not only our health and our well-being, but also, our life. Everyone's talking about manifestation these days. So I went on my own journey of that, and I became a professional coach and a healer. And then I reached a point where I really wanted to focus in and get really clear on how I could best serve, essentially, and also stay constantly motivated and interested, really. So, what came through for me really strong, it was to focus on weight loss and to support women with weight loss at a spiritual and energetic level.
Hmm.
And really, at that point, I still had sort of brushed under the carpet my own journey with yo-yo dieting and disordered eating, which had always accompanied my personal struggles. And so that's when I really started to fully acknowledge the role that it had had in my life and really look at the broader picture of what's going on in the world and the diet culture and the weight loss industry. And all these pieces came together, and I started to work with women this way. And it's been a really great, great journey so far.
Thank you so much for sharing your journey. And I can definitely say that many a times our own experiences can lead us to something bigger. And the way you have connected your story to helping others feels so real and relatable. And I'm sure our listeners can sense that honesty too. Now, when we talk about metaphysics and the connection between the mind and body, as you spoke about it, how does that shift the way we look at weight loss and wellness? Does it mean that it's not just about diets and workouts anymore, but also about how our emotions, our thoughts, or even the unresolved experiences shape the body and our overall health?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're just, I speak to a lot of other healers as well who have weight issues, and they're like, I never thought to do energy healing. I never thought to look at it this way. I think because we're just so saturated and brainwashed by the mainstream weight loss industry, even by medical perspective of weight loss, is that we completely stripped of our power and our intuition over what we need for ourselves. and how it's going to work for us. And really, when I work with my clients, it's really like this is a unique journey. This is your unique manifestation. And so everything is really, it's rooted ultimately in your self-love and your self-empowerment. That's when you start to really listen and trust. That's when you care enough to actually want to feel vibrant and healthy rather than kind of spiritually bypassing any weight or health issues. So Louise Hay did a fantastic job at bringing to the mainstream our understanding of the basic metaphysics of the body and understanding physical ailments and how they are an indication of deeper rooted issues, and that there always is an emotional or energetic core. But it's not really, it hasn't been discussed much in terms of weight loss. So I think it's really about time that more people are thinking about this. And really, much like our physical health, a lot of people don't want to take responsibility. They just want to go to the doctor and they want a pill and that's it. But it's super important. It's something that you just got to acknowledge that whatever's going on for you physically and also emotionally, of course, it's about once you take that decision, once you go, okay, I'm responsible for this, I'm responsible for it. I have the personal power to deal with it or to achieve it, to heal it. And I can use all these resources and people. Maybe I do need to go to the doctor, but it's about taking the steering wheel and saying, okay, I'm the leader here. This is my life and my body. And you start from that place rather than giving away your power or dismissing your intuition around the body mind connection and what's going on for you.
Well, I think it's a very refreshing way to look at it. And I loved the fact when you say that you got to own it instead of just rushing to doctors and thinking about having just pills. How about even addressing any emotions, any unresolved emotions that you have? So, to all our listeners who are watching and listening, I think it's really important we have that awareness around taking control of our life, taking control of our health, being responsible for it. Now, you also spoke about Louise Hay. I did listen to her, watch some of her videos, and in fact, many other. They often talk about how emotions we suppress or the experiences we haven't fully processed can eventually show up in the body. And sometimes it could be physical issues like weight gain itself. How does that actually happen? And what's the connection between carrying this unprocessed emotions in the mind and the body responding in such a tangible way?
Hey, that's a great question. And I'll do my best to explain it, in the context of a podcast here, because it's sort of feels like a very deep for me, a deep and detailed response is required. But basically, when you acknowledge along these lines, if you're immersed in Louise Hay's world or like traditional medicine, which also acknowledges that emotions are connected to various organs, etc. So when you go, okay, I see this, I acknowledge this, I have an internal energy, which is a blueprint or an expression, which is then manifest in the physical. If you go, okay, so that works with, grief in the lungs. My grandma's full of grief and she keeps getting pneumonia or something. When we can start to make these connections and realize that it's real, then we can start to get a little more abstract, and perhaps it's not that abstract, but in the conversation, okay, weight loss, so, or weight gain or emotional eating, what's actually going on here? Is it just a bad habit or is it bad genes or is it my metabolism? Well, let's go deep and actually start to listen and meditate on these things and realize that our body is talking to us. So excess weight, when it's not desired, it doesn't feel good to you, it weighs you down, it makes you feel heavily physically and emotionally. Okay, so what's going on here? And just to make it like a really brief, understandable example, I tend to work with a number of women, like a good proportion of the women that I work with have come out of abusive relationships. So either during the relationship or at the end of the relationship, they've experienced weight gain. And quite often they'll say to me that my eating, my diet hasn't changed. It's my emotions that have changed. It's my feelings about myself, it's my feelings about the world, it's my feelings about the opposite sex, it's my feelings about a potential next relationship. It's feeling unsafe, it's feeling weighed down. So the body's capacity, or the consciousness of the body, the capacity to hold extra weight, to gain extra weight, even despite there being a, calorie deficit, like there's being a big difference in what you're actually consuming. What are the emotions when you're consuming your food? In fact, who are the people or the energies that you're consuming your food around? All these things make a huge difference. And even the labeling of good food, bad food. Okay, if you've labeled that chocolate is bad and it absolutely always attaches to your hips, so be it. If that's what you're saying is the reality for the world and for your body and your life, then it will follow suit. It's really fascinating to see how dramatically, actually, once you start to work on the emotional densities, the traumas, specifically, I'm thinking in this case with the women that I've worked with, um, the weight loss can be quite rapid after traumas are brought to the conscious mind and they are released. So it's layers of protection is the most simple way, I guess, to describe that.
Um, I think you definitely shed light on some of the important aspects, especially about the emotional eating. Could you please share a bit about your weight loss program where you said that you help women? So, how has that experience been? Are there any specific experience that you want to share with the audience? Anything that you learned how your clients feel?
Okay. Yeah. I guess to start, I'd say it's interesting because I tend to attract kind of two dominant themes. It's either women who also have had disordered eating since they were children or adolescents, and they've lived a life of yo-yo dieting or something similar to that effect, like for decades, we're talking. So they have just unresolved eating and body weight and image and self-love issues and just generalized embodiment issues. A lot of women I work with very empathic women, sensitive women who often just struggle to be in their bodies. Um, and on the other hand, I also, as I said, work with a lot of women who come out of these relationships and need to just really release a lot of emotion and density there. I think what have I found? I think it's really been really interesting how much ancestral healing has been part of this. And it's always quite, for me at least, I'm still quite fascinated with the way it shows up because it's not all, often we're working with mother and grandmothers, their
Mm-hmm.
stories, their traumas. It also does often show up in the father line as well. So, and it can be something as more abstract, even as like, a body dysmorphia that a male relative has experienced. The way that we can carry and hold these patterns or generational trauma, you could call it an ancestral pattern in your field, and how that can actually show up as a weight issue for a woman, even though it's not like the father was experiencing he had an issue with his weight. It was more like self-esteem based around the physical body. I mean, most commonly, obviously, it's mothers and grandmothers who are chronically dieting, who've never been able to step into full self-love, who's never been able to step into full self-autonomy and empowerment and listen to their bodies, trust what they need, switch off from everyone telling them what to eat, when to eat, how to eat. They need to exercise like this or like that. I mean, there's so much coming out now in the holistic health space, for sure, social media. There's so much education, and it's really great that people are starting to look at weight loss in a different light. But at the same time, there's still so much of what was or what is, and there's still people trying to get by on very nutrient deficient 1200 calorie diets and think that that is sustainable for the rest of their life, and they're not listening to their bodies. they're not listening to their intuition, and there's just such a better way to do it. And yeah, I hope that answers your question. I feel like I've spiraled a bit. I'm not sure I've ended what, but anyway.
Absolutely. I think that definitely makes a lot of sense. So often we try to fight emotional eating on the surface, like forcing willpower or what. But what you are saying is that, if we look deeper, we we'll actually find the real reasons behind it. And that's powerful because it gives people the permission to be a bit kinder to themselves while also healing those deeper layers. So thanks for sharing that. When it comes to losing weight, I always had this question about affirmations. Okay. So I really want to understand what role do things like affirmations or visualization really play? Like, how can simple practices like seeing yourself healthier or repeating some empowering statements actually shift the way we think or break the old patterns? To be honest, does that really work?
I think there's really some divided opinion around affirmations and visualization. And I think it's because you've got to, if you want to, make it work for you. I do include and suggest affirmation and visualization for my clients. And sometimes it sticks and they love it and it's really helpful. And other times it doesn't. And as I said again, it's all a unique path. Like it's what works for you. That's the only way that it's going to work. But interestingly, I have had um, sometimes women are like, "Oh no, not affirmations," like, "Oh, eye roll," kind of thing. But some of these people have actually, in the end, said, "You know what? That was the affirmation that we created. That has just that was everything to me. That has created such an enormous shift for me." And so just coming back to, I guess I'm not really answering like the basics of how these mechanisms work, to say that we could have repeating negative thoughts, right? So that are constantly creating our reality. So sometimes it's really helpful to start to, I like to actually work like directly inverting them. So whatever you're saying, you just invert it, flip it, start saying the opposite pretty much with a bit of tweaking can be incredibly effective. And it can really shift your world. It really can change your reality. I think there's, I think when people get too hard down the line of trying to really, really manifest and they're just constantly saying affirmations, in some ways, it's like affirmations can almost be abused. Like they can become to a point of non efficacy and they can actually thwart your progress at times, I feel. So it's about being conscious of, does this make me feel better? And is this becoming my reality? Personally, I've had amazing results from affirmations at time. I don't use them much these days, but at the beginning of my journey, they were very helpful. And I would absolutely say they changed my reality. In terms of visualization, I'm still a huge fan of visualization all the time. And I really see it, I can feel the shift the next day. Like it's really clear to me how that shifts my reality, just taking even 5 minutes, getting myself into the theta state or into this alternate space of consciousness, and how that can shift my thoughts and change my reality. And my clients, I do again, I really highly suggest it, and I suggest it regularly. And sometimes that's the magic ingredient for some clients, and sometimes it's not, and they lose the weight anyway. Or it's really about, I think, what works for you and being really conscious. Like, is this helping me? Or maybe it actually feels like a burden or a chore. Or maybe I really just do not, what I'm speaking, I've got such internal resistance to it that I need to work a different way.
Well, I think I was anticipating altogether different answer, but I really loved your explanation. Uh, Affirmations and visualizations sometimes, or I would say rather many a times, get brushed off as too simple. But the way you have described it definitely says that they are actually rewiring how we see ourselves. And as you called out, for some it may work, for some it may not. It's all about the consciousness that you have shed the light on. Um, if someone is completely new to this whole idea, where would you suggest them to begin with? Like, are there any simple, approachable ways they can get started, especially with affirmations?
Absolutely. So that's exactly where I'd suggest people get started is with affirmations and visualizations. Initially, as I said, you come to the place of personal responsibility. Okay, I'm going to be responsible for this. You make the decision. Okay, I'm going to work at the level of the unseen, of my internal energy, of my subconscious mind. Okay, I'm going to do it this way instead. And then it does require some switching off from, so stop drinking the diet shakes or watching the stuff that hasn't worked. I really impress this upon people. Like you make the choice. I'm going this way, not that way. I tried that for 20 years. I'm going to give this a go. So it's about committing to that path and being playful, being creative. It's really important if you want something to last and to be effective and to be successful, that it's enjoyable. That's also why, the weight loss industry, it's based on deprivation and restriction. So why it typically really doesn't stick for most people. Um, so I would suggest just starting even with just one affirmation. So when we talk about affirmations, they're in the affirmative, they're in the now. It's been a while since I've spoken about this. And help me out, Rudy. What have we got? They're affirmative, they're in the now, and I'm having a mental blank. Anyway, it's about really harnessing what is possible and potential and claiming it as though it's happening now. So it's now. I am at my desired body weight and feeling light and happy and energized every day. Something that simple. Something that shifts you from that constant negative, oh gosh, I feel so sluggish, I feel heavy, I've got to lose weight. Like, what a turnaround is a simple statement, like I just said, to start every time you feel that thought coming on, okay, no, I'm going to affirm this other reality, this other desire, because I choose this path instead. In terms of visualization, and this is where it's really interesting, I think, particularly when you're visualizing your health and your weight, to really bring yourself into your body, really feel. You could start with the muscles, the bones, the tendons, feel the blood, just feel every part of your biological body. Start to feel the tingle, your cells really come into your body. And I like to imagine that you're some kind of shapeshifter and you can just shapeshift yourself. People talk about shapeshifting into, I'm going to shapeshift into a lion or whatever. Okay, you're just going to shapeshift in your mind, in your consciousness. Just imagine. Or perhaps it's a memory, like I've been this in this form before. What did that feel like? Just bring yourself in. Just simply imagine it, feel it, vibrate it, how you'd like your physical form to be. And from that place, your world does start changing. Ideas, inspirations, perspectives, new habits come in, and you do start to physically affect your cells as well. So it's no joke. It's real. It's powerful and effective, and visualization and affirmation can get you a very long way. And as part of that path, when you start to really attune and become clear on what you want physically, the blockages should start to be revealed to you. So if you start to realize, oh, I've got some deep emotional stuff connected to my weight that I need to work on. The idea is that that will come to your awareness in one way or another, and you can start to work on and heal any blockages essentially to what you're calling in.
Speaking of blockages, I really love the way you explained visualization. Uh, Here is the honest take: it gets difficult to visualize. For instance, if I really want to visualize myself as someone who has very lean body and who is very fit, it does take a lot of efforts. What do you think people should get started to even realize that, yes, it's going to be difficult, but it's doable?
Well, it's really interesting that you say that, Ruhi, because if you're saying, from my perspective, if you say, oh, this is difficult, like visualizing myself every day is difficult, I'm like, well, okay, if you've done that for a sustained amount of time and you're feeling it's difficult, it's feeling difficult and heavy, then switch it out and do something else, is my advice. So, what are other manifestation techniques or ways of shifting your consciousness awareness? What's possible for you? I'm thinking maybe if you've been visualizing yourself, as I suggested before, like in the body, maybe you see yourself projecting on a screen. Maybe you and put yourself in a completely different context. Like, how can you mix this up? How can you shape your awareness? Maybe it's a good idea for you actually to stick pictures or images of women with the health, vitality, the shape, the well-being, like pictures of inspiration and stuff that you can connect your identity to. So you're starting to bring in other ways of staying in the flow and in the motivation and the you know what you want at the end, but there's different ways to keep that energy flowing for yourself. Um, Maybe you want to hop on to Insight Timer or some other app or something and do some meditations. It's just about keeping the variety, keeping the energy flowing, keeping the intention. It's all about intention. So if you're ever feeling bored or frustrated by your practices, I suggest it's time to switch it up.
Absolutely. I think you gave the very simple and doable. Like anyone listening today, they can get started with just one practice, that is having something that really inspires you, maybe some kind of quote or affirmation, as you called. Uh, so, yeah, I think that should really help. Now, I have a question for you. We usually lean on doctors and experts for advice, which is important, definitely. But you also talk about trusting your own intuition. Now, how can someone actually start turning into that inner voice when it comes to decisions about their body and weight?
Sure. And I acknowledge it's a journey, and our physical body and our health is not something that we should uh, take lightly. And so to jump from putting everything into other people's hands to really predominantly in your own hands can be a process. You know, okay, it's easy for me to say I've been doing this work for over a decade. I work intuitively with clients, like it's my world basically. But to someone who's never really started to lean on the intuition, it starts with simple steps. It starts with, I want to suggest, maybe when there's like a dominant assumption or storyline, or it could be just something in your personal life that everyone else around you is saying is true or fact, or this is going to happen. Or what I'm suggesting is when you have these moments of your feeling or sensation differs from what everyone else is saying or doing or suggesting, when you have these opportunities to actually, and they're a low risk opportunity. So really go for that. Like when you feel these little sensations, these little intuitive hits, these feelings, I suggest just starting off small, but follow them. What have you got to lose? Like, let's build this muscle. Some people say intuition is a muscle, so let's build it. Let's go to the gym and just do some little little moves. Aside from me at this moment, maybe you've got an example, but just start small and lean into your intuition, build your intuitive muscle. And it's a process, but as you build self trust, then it can really become a tool that is like a really invaluable tool in your life in more than just more ways than you could imagine, perhaps at this point.
Well, I think we all live in a world where we are always looking outside for answers. But what you're saying is that our bodies already carry so much wisdom. And it's so inspiring to remind people that they are not just passive in their health journey. Okay. They are actually they actually have an inner guide if they really want to learn to listen to it. So thanks for sharing that. Now, when it comes to weight loss, so many people hit mental or emotional blocks that keep them stuck in the same cycle. Uh, do you want to recommend any specific exercises or techniques which you have found especially powerful for breaking through these blocks?
Okay. So when you get to a blockage of frustration, or you feel that you're talking like a weight plateau, or you mean more just about motivation? Is this what you're
It's a combination of both. So many a times people start their weight loss journey, and if they notice that there isn't much of progress, there could be some emotional reasoning as well, and that's when they are stuck and they are actually confused whether to invest in their wellness or not.
okay? Yeah, it is a bit confusing. It can be a little disorientating even. I know some of my clients, it doesn't, like, the weight will come off after we've worked together. Like, it's sort of, there's just this resistance, everything's the same, and then all of a sudden everything is released. And we don't have any really conscious control over that. There's no way for us to really see it coming necessarily. So keeping the faith in some ways is, like anything that you're really wanting in your life, is you must just keep on keeping on, in a way. And as I said, it has to be, in order for you to keep on keeping on, there has to be sustainability around it. So it has to be doable, it has to be somewhat enjoyable, it has to be attuned to your life and your personality and your belief system. So I think, again, around that, really it's making the decision that it's going to work. It's making the decision, or the having the awareness. I mean, even a lot of like mainstream weight loss people will talk about this. It's a lifestyle change. I would say, like, it's a quantum leap, or it's a new version of you. The woman that has lost the weight for good without dieting. It's a new identity and a new expression of your life and your personality. Like, it's a whole 360-degree, like, the recipe, all the ingredients that go in are coming from mental, physical, spiritual, emotional. They're in your habits. They're in the company you keep, the thoughts you think, the way you feel when you're eating, your belief systems around weight loss and weight gain, and belief systems around certain foods, when and how to eat, what exercise is required of this. So much is rooted in your belief system and in your emotions in terms of weight loss, weight gain, etc. So once you have that persistent, you made the decision and you're committed also to it being sustainable, and you've built in the joy factor, not to say that it's blissfully like, hooray, I'm losing weight like every day, but it has to be fundamentally a creative and empowering journey of self love. So once you have that, all of those pieces in place, then you shouldn't reach that point. I'd say that what you're describing is more based on an unsustainable weight loss matrix
Yeah, that's right.
reality. Yeah.
But I really love the way you said that it's got to be sustainable plus joyful. Only then, I don't think you'll reach a point where you actually feel stuck. So I hope that really helps our audience. Now, in your experience, why is shifting our mindset such a powerful part of creating that lasting health change? Why do you think it's important?
I think it's foundational. It's about, really, your mindset. I feel like even mindset is too superficial a word. It's more like it's your whole beingness. Um, it's the it's a deep rooted, as I said, decision. Like, sorry, right here. I think I've kind of forgotten what. Can you repeat the question?
Sure. What I'm trying to understand is many a times we talk about weight loss and the entire journey. But many times we are being told that it's about shifting your mind, thought process. I want to understand from your perspective, why is it so important to have that mind shift during this journey?
Okay. Yeah, it's so important to shift your mindset about what's possible for you, how weight loss is possible for you. And it's also a mindset about claiming like I'm worth it. I'm worth it. It's attainable and I'm committed to this. And when you really understand that journey, that process of sustainable weight loss and the clearing and the healing and the transformation that goes on, then you're sold. I don't think the mindset, it can come and go a little bit if you're feeling a little bit discouraged that the weight hasn't come off at this point. But again, it's like when you view it as something much deeper than, oh, my jeans are tight, or I want to just feel a bit skinnier. Oh, is that vanity? Or it's actually just what my beingness wants to experience. I actually don't want to hold all this extra weight. So your mindset is crucial, and it just requires, yeah, those few elements there, I think, to bring it all together.
Well, I think it's definitely an eye opener. I believe that, medical advice is important, of course, but the way you explain mindset shows why lasting change isn't just about following instructions, and it's about having that true belief and the alignment that you spoke about. Uh, so, uh, okay, now I think we have had some insightful conversations so far. I thoroughly loved all the affirmations, the visualization that you spoke about. And before we wrap up, I think I would really love to switch gears a little bit and ask you some lighthearted questions just for fun so that our listeners can get to know you on more personal level. Okay. Now, you got to be quick. You got to just be a bit witty. What's one thing people are always surprised to learn about you?
Often that I'm Australian because people often think I'm English, at least in the US and other parts of the world.
Hmm.
That's the first thing that came to my head. Yeah.
Okay. If you weren't doing what you're doing now, what's the most unexpected job you would find?
What's the most unexpected job that I could do? I still feel like there's a version of me that could have like become a scuba diver instructor or something, like just working on the water in some way. Yeah. I love
Cool.
the ocean.
What's one silly thing that always makes you smile while you're working towards your health goals?
What makes me smile when I'm working towards my health goals? Well, I guess it's like, practice what you preach, Penny. Like be yeah, be the role.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I think from all the questions, this is one of my favorite. If you could send one text message to your, 10-year-old or 10 years ago, what would it be?
10 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
it would definitely be about you have no idea how powerful you are.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so empowering. Um, what's the funniest or the most unexpected piece of advice someone has ever given you about losing weight?
Some that people have given me about losing
Mhm.
weight.
Or if you have heard people giving advices when it comes to weight loss, which is one funny thing that you have heard.
What have I had apart from all the crazy diets? Gosh, I can't even. Oh, I'm thinking what's coming to my mind. Quickest answer is the 1200 calorie, like the Weight Watchers kind of commercial diets, the starvation diets. That's hilarious. Yeah.
Okay. Now, before we wrap up, I would definitely want our listeners to know a bit more about you. So, for those who are listening today and who want to learn more about your work, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Sure, really. Thanks for that. I think the best way really is just to hop onto my website. So that's penelopeclaire.com. So I'm sure we can write that somewhere. Um, so on my website, there is an ability to book in for a free weight loss assessment. So that can move towards helping you get a more clearer understanding of what's going on for you. And if we're aligned to work together, then I can share with you what my coaching program looks like, etc. There's also, you're welcome to grab a free copy of my ebook, Spiritual Weight Loss. So that's available if you hop on my website, as well as further information about my online program and links to social media.
Absolutely. I'll have all those details in the description of this episode so that people can definitely reach out to you. And that brings us to the end of today's conversation. It's been such a pleasure having you on my show, and I thoroughly loved the conversation, your wisdom, your energy, and the best part is the beautiful perspectives that you brought in today's discussion. uh, the way you broke it down, those ideas. And I know I had a lot of questions around affirmations and visualization, which many a times I struggle with. But listening to you, I think there is a different perspective that I'm going to look at. And I know our listeners are definitely going to walk away with a lot of reflection, a lot to reflect on. So it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on my show. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. That's really kind of you. I've really enjoyed speaking with you today. Thanks for
And thanks for that. And to all of you listening, thanks for tuning in and being part of this space. I would love to hear what resonated with you from today's conversation. Please share it with your friends, your colleagues, or your loved ones. I'm sure they would want to hear this conversation and get uplifted. Until next time, take care of yourselves and keep moving forward towards your own version of wellness and abundance. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.